Hey guys, how you guys doing today? Have you ever considered this? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. That you're so much more powerful than you could ever imagine. You see, I'm going to blow your mind. I'm going to show you something that you must know. And once you realize this, it's going to give you a new level of awareness so that you can really start to just take advantage of who you are and deliberately start to affect your world. So what if I told you that every possible outcome of everything you ever want is existing right this moment? Every decision, everything you think about, everything you dreamt about, what you want to become, who you want to become, the things you want in your life, they are all happening right this very moment. And the secret lies within dimensions. So we're all familiar with dimensions. So I'm going to open your mind to show you something powerful and how one thing connects all these together, and you have it right now. You just have to learn how to exercise it and use it. And let me show you how it works. So we live in 3 dimensions. So our dimension, let me make it simple. We live in a 3D world, right? We hear the saying every day, 3D dimension, 3D world. So we actually live in 4 dimensions, all right? So it's not, we don't live in 3 dimensions, we actually live in 4 dimensions. Now there are actually 11 dimensions according to string theory. Okay, these are theoretical physicists that have done calculations, experiments with the particles, and they've discovered that there's actually 11 dimensions. Now there's another theoretical formula, it's called M theory. They say that it's up to 26 dimensions. But what happened is these 26 dimensions, they basically become unstable, so nothing can exist, so they collapse back to themselves and we get 11 dimensions. So I'm going to break down all 11 dimensions and show you where they are, how they work, and what's possible, and how you can have access to these dimensions. So before we get in, we got to know what a dimension is, all right? So 3 dimension is this. So we can move up, left, right, up, down, right? So we got that space dimension. Interesting thing now about 3 dimensions that we inherit, we live in, we have control of that dimension. Why? Because I can move left, I can move right, I can go up, I can go down. See, I'm free to move in this dimension. If someone lived in 1 dimension where there's only length, they can only move backwards and forwards. If somebody lives in 2 dimensions, they can only go down. See? So the thing about dimensions is they create rules that we have to abide by. So we live in 3 dimensions where we have control. Now, I said we have 4 dimensions with time. Time is the 4th dimension. The interesting thing about time dimension is we can't control it. See, with the other dimensions, 3 dimensions, we have freedom to go here, go there, move up and down, awareness. With time, we can't control it. It seems like it's always moving forward. Like time puts us in one moment. You can't smell time. You can't feel time. You can't touch time. You can't even be aware of time. Now, when you say aware, I'm not talking about saying it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. That's just something we create. But the presence, with the other dimensions, with the 3 dimensions, we can sense them. We can feel them. We know when we're moving up, we're moving down, we're moving left, right. With time, it has no effect on our perception towards controlling it. So time is the only dimension that we can't control. So it's always like, seems like it's moving us forward, right? But in actual reality, it's here in the moment, but it's an illusion. But still, you can't control it, right? So that's it. So 4 dimensions, 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions of time. The other 3 we can control. Time is just 1 dimension because you can't go back in time, right? And so I want you to keep that in mind. Now, let's move to the 4th. 4th dimension we talk about is time. And as you say, time seems to move forward and backward. But the interesting thing about this dimension of time, it's actually not. It's actually a constant moment to moment. The only difference with time is they have what we call coordinates. So in time, there are different points in time. These different points is what we call future self, the future self. It's happening here, it's happening there. This is where those infinite possibilities, what I talked about, that you have exist. Don't worry, it's going to make sense to you. Right now, your brain may be a little bit confused. But stay with me here. I'm going to show you how this works. So we have 4 dimensions. Now let's go into the 5th dimension. The 5th dimension now is the quantum world, in the quantum dimension. Now from the 5th dimension up to the 11th dimension, these are dimensions of possibilities. These are what theoretical physicists, and this is what the experiments are showing us when we smash these particles together and we see how they work in the universe. This is what it's showing us. Okay, this is what the results are showing us, all the possibilities that exist right now. Now, the interesting thing about from the 5th dimension on up, we don't have any, we cannot access, not access, but we cannot see these dimensions physically, or we cannot become aware of them physically. In other words, they're out of our perception because our brain works. So let's move now. So the 5th dimension is quantum world. It's a world of subatomic particles. It's the world of invisible miniature particles going on around. And now these particles are what creates everything. So within this dimension holds the secret to every possible outcome. So that's the 5th dimension. 6th dimension now is where we get into the possibility of the parallel universes. Within this dimension, it says that the universe began with a big bang and everything was created like a startup. I always talk about the universe as a simulation. The big bang would be like the program starting up. And then within this universe, there's a version of you right this moment doing every possible thing that you can ever imagine right now. Rich version, poor version, happy version, sad version. Anything that can happen is happening right now in this parallel universe. That's the 6th dimension. 7th dimension is similar to the parallel universe, but this dimension too is also infinite. The difference between the 7th and the 6th dimension is within the 7th dimension, there is no Big Bang. There's different rules of physics where the universe began in different ways. That's the only difference. So in the 6th dimension, all the infinite possibilities that everything began with a Big Bang. 7th dimension, anything goes. Nothing began with a Big Bang. It has its own theory. 8th dimension. This is a dimension where you cannot touch anything. Anything that exists in this dimension cannot be accessed physically by anyone. You can see, the best analogy for 8th dimension is to look at it as a digital world. Let's say you're looking at the world in digital stuff, like Earth, you're digitalized. You can see them, but you cannot interact or touch them. That's the 8th dimension. Now we move to the 9th dimension. This is a very, very interesting dimension. Now within this dimension is where all civilizations live in the same time and space. Alien civilization, everyone is living in the same space and time, but they cannot access or see each other. That's the 9th dimension. So if someone's living in the 9th dimension, they could access to this dimension, they would be able to stand out and see all civilizations, every living thing in the infinite universe, living, moving. Everyone's moving, walking. You're walking through something, but you're never aware of it. So it's every single thing. Everyone's living in the same space and time, but the dimension is different that you can't access it. Now, if you were what we call a god, or maybe you're outside looking in, then you can see and interact. And then let's go back to the 5th dimension. If someone was living in the 5th dimension, the quantum world, then they could see time. They could go backwards and forwards in time because time is coordinates. They can control the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th dimension, right? So it's interesting I say that. The 10th dimension now is a dimension where the unimaginable happens. In the 10th dimension, we have no understanding. It's beyond our mindset. It's just where the unimaginable, it's basically things that you can't imagine right now are happening. And then when you get to imagine it, it's already there. So the 10th dimension is the unimaginable dimension. The 11th dimension is sort of like the 10th. The unimaginable can happen. But in the 11th dimension now, we get down to strings, what the universe is made of, these miniature strings. All right. So why did I give you this crash course in dimensions? What's the point of it? How is this going to impact your life? Well, the interesting thing about these dimensions is they have one thing in common. for the first 4 dimensions, the first 3 dimensions, we can access those dimensions physically. 4th dimension on up, we have to access those dimensions mentally. That's the thing right here. Consciousness, the awareness of who you are, you can access and tap into these dimensions. So you can actually tap into, let's go to the ones. You can actually tap into the 6th dimension, parallel, 7th dimension, because in these dimensions, remember, every possible outcome exists. You can tap into the 9th dimension. Now in the 9th dimension, this is where people may see where they call ghosts and angels, because in these dimensions you have higher entity or higher beings that if they come down to our dimension, to us, they'll feel like supernatural. You can't see them, you can't physically touch them. They could walk through the walls or everything, but in their dimension it's normal to them. But to us, it seems miraculous. The best analogy would be like an ant. An ant is in his own little world, in his dimension. If you walk into the ant's world, the ant, and I say the ant was aware like us, the ant will look at you like a god and say, oh man, you just walk in, you could move their nest, you can flip it over with a twist of a hand, but it took the ant months to build that mount, but you just go boom. And then when they look at you, they see how big you are, right? Because you've entered their dimension or their world. So in the 9th dimension, this is where you may get the angels, the guides, and they may seem like gods to us, but they can interact. Maybe that's what there is. So when we see things like ghosts or spirit guides, maybe they're in that 9th dimension and they're just higher beings, more evolved than us. Now, you have one thing in common though. You have a connection mentally with all the dimensions, because according to quantum physics, M theory and string theory, we have what's called entanglement and superposition. It says everything, no matter what in the universe, no infinite, it's all tied. So everything is tied to one branch. So you can actually access these dimensions. How do you access these dimensions? You access these dimensions through meditation and through visualizing and through seeing an event in your mind's eye. And you can call upon that version of you in that dimension, and you will get the insights that to use in this universe, in this dimension. You can learn a new language. You can learn to become a genius. You can learn to become a manifester. You could win the lottery. You could start your business. You can create an invention, because in these dimensions is where all the possibilities occur. So, Mark, this sounds profound. So how can I access this dimension? It's hard. It's very easy. You know how easy it is. So it's so easy. Let me show you how to do it. By being aware and knowing about these dimensions is the secret to accessing them. I just gave it to you. If you didn't know these dimensions, you can't access. What you don't know, you don't know. So now that you know these dimensions are there, you can start to play around it in your mind. You can meditate, you're in that dimension. You can visualize, see what you want. You can see a version of yourself. It's truly happening right now. The thing about human beings, guys, is that our reality is about to be flipped upside down, because there are things happening right now on this planet that's going to shake the whole world up. Number one, the government now has come forward to show that we are not alone. There are basically technologies that are flying around this earth, doing speeds of 1,200, 1,300 miles per hour, defying the laws of physics. And the governments, they can't explain it. They have the videos, and they acknowledge that these are not from our world. It's not technology. So imagine that. We may be living in a universe where there actually are other beings. We're not special. We're not the first. There may be other beings that created us, that we're a part of them. So we're living in a time, the age of Aquarius, where it's going to shock the world. Religion is going to turn upside down, because now religion says there is this God that created, and it's only us on this earth. That's going to be shattered now, because now we know that there are technologies there. That's out the window now. What are you going to say now in religion? How are you going to come up with this? How are you going to fix this now? See that? So the reason why a lot of this took so long to come out is because of that. It's because agenda and religion, it will show the system of a people who are stuck in their ways. They don't want to get this secret or information out. But now it's just going to come out regardless. So you are at the forefront of understanding your power. So what you want to do is you want to become aware of this truth and this information, and then you want to meditate, visualize it, see yourself, connect. Now you'll start to connect with your higher self, guides, spirit guides, these angels. Now you'll start to tap into that future self. Because there's one thing in common with this, guys. Here's the one common theme here. Everything that we are created from comes from a subatomic particle, quantum physics. These particles create everything. And when we get into the fifth dimension, the quantum world, now we see all the possibilities, and now we know, according to the mathematics, that these dimensions are actually there. It's mind-boggling. They're actually there. So that's something for you to think about. And now you can start to see how powerful you are, and that, man, it's more to this universe than you can ever imagine.